Greetings. This is Doc Ock coming to you live and direct from Black Facts Headquarters Central today with another installment of Doc Ock at noon and 9. Just to make sure you know everything is real fine, we'd like you to do a few things for us before we get started with this little party. Number one, if you're watching on Facebook, give us a like. If you're watching on the tube, give us a thumbs up. And first and foremost, or last but not least, either way you want to look at it, make sure to go ahead and talk to your friends, your family, your enemies, all the people you know, and let them know where they should go. No, not the HE double hockey sticks, to the Tubular Black Facts channel on YouTube. That's what we're talking about. So go ahead and do those couple things for us. And in the meanwhile, we'll try to make you smile a little bit longer and even a little bit stronger. Let's see what we got today for a proverb. Okay, we got an Ashanti proverb today. Let's see what we got here from Ashanti line. It is the wife who knows her husband. Quite appropriate. It is the wife who knows her husband. All right, and that's a proverb from the Ashanti people of West Africa, over there on what used to be called the Gold Coast, Ghana, Togo, maybe even into Liberia, all up around in that area. You got the Ashanti people. Now we've been going into the story, the history and the story of the Queen of Sheba, and we're going to go a little bit deeper into it today in a couple of, well, I don't know how far we're going to get. That all depends. But first and foremost, let's go ahead and set it up. So what we've been looking at is the depiction of the Queen of Sheba on the big screen, on the big stage, on Broadway, etc., etc., etc. And what we've noted is that the Queen of Sheba and Solomon are both portrayed as being white folks. Now, for those of you who are not regular theater goers, you may not know this, but the American and the British acting traditions have dictated for many, 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 many years, long before they came to the Americas, that I wouldn't call it cross-dressing occurred, but actors would portray things that they were not. It's a matter of fantasy, creating an illusion. They were like actors on the stage were like illusionists. I'm talking about in the beginning, before TV and the movies and all of that. Just regular Shakespearean actors were like illusionists. They would try to give you an illusion of something or an idea of something that was happening that was not actually happening on the stage. So, for instance, in the beginning, women were considered, it was considered to be bad form for a woman, period, any woman, to be an actress. So there was no such thing originally as female actresses. So all the parts of the women were played by men. Well, in the Americas, one of the things that they added to that, well, they did it in England as well. When you think of plays like Othello the Moor, played by a white dude, when we know the Moors are black. So that is another example of the very same kind of thing. But as I've already stated, even the women in the Shakespearean plays were portrayed by men. So they were cross-dressing, if you want to call it that. They were dressing up in a costume with makeup and so on and so forth. So we come to the Americas and we have this whole idea that you have white folks that portray Native Americans, white folks that portray Persians, white folks that portray black people, etc., etc., etc. And we have numerous examples of this, which I didn't bring all of those with me, but one good one is the Queen of Sheba. And that's the one that we're focused on today, the Queen of Sheba. Okay, so that's the first thing, and we want to look at that, and we talked about this again yesterday as to why this is the case, and that it brought about this cognitive dissonance. So today, what we're going to do is we're going to delve off a little deeper into the actual story of the Queen of Sheba and the whole background, because yesterday when we talked about it as being primarily a love story. Well, that's how it's been filtered down to us. That is not anything like the whole story. That is like a very minuscule piece of a puzzle. Okay? It's just a small portion of the picture. We want to look at the big picture. Why did the Queen of Sheba go to see King Solomon in the first place? Was she there to fall in love with him and make a baby? I don't think so. I don't think that's why she went there originally. So that is the question. Who is the Queen of Sheba? And exactly why did she go to visit Solomon anyway? I need to get my little bookmarks over here. I always need some little bookmarks. I love these little bookmarks. These are very handy. The post-it bookmarks work real good. All right, so we're going to read today from a book. We're going to read today from a book translated from Ethiopian scripts. Okay, and this was translated by E.A. Wallace Budge of the British Museum fame. Let me see. I know. Wait a minute. Where was it at? It's on page 15. That's what I want to go to. Page 15. All right, here we go. All right. So, name of this book. If you want to look it up later or try to find a copy for yourself. Name of this book is The Queen of Sheba and Her Only Son, Menelik. The Queen of Sheba and Her Only Son, Menelik. And we're going to use this as our main text for the remainder of these sessions. Okay? The Queen of Sheba and Her Only Son, Menelik. And I better put on my glasses so I can see properly here. There we go. Now, much better. All right. Now, how the Orthodox fathers and bishops agreed. And again, the Council of the 318 answered and said, Amen. This is the salvation of the children of Adam. For since the tabernacle of the law of God hath come down, they shall be called men of the house of God, even as David saith, and his habitation is in Zion. And again he saith by the mouth of the Holy Ghost, and my habitation is here, for I have chosen it, and I will bless her priests, and I will make her poor to be glad. And unto David will I give seed in her, and upon the earth one who shall become king, and moreover in the heavens one from his seed shall reign in the flesh upon the throne of the Godhead. And as for his enemies, they shall be gathered together under his footstool, and they shall be sealed with his seal. Now, part 19. How this book came to be found. And Demetrios, otherwise known as the Patriarch Timotheus, who sat from 511 to 517 AD, the Archbishop of Rome, in other words, Constantinople or Byzantium, said, I have found in the church of Saint Sophia, among the books and the royal treasures, a manuscript which stated that the whole kingdom of the world belonged to the Emperor of Rome and the Emperor of Ethiopia. Part 20, concerning the division of the earth. From the middle of Jerusalem, and from the north thereof to the southeast, is the portion of the emperor of Rome. From the middle of Jerusalem, and from the north thereof to the southeast is the portion of the emperor of Rome. And from the middle of Jerusalem, from the north thereof to the south, and to western India, is the portion of the emperor of Ethiopia. So in other words, Ethiopia stretched way beyond the boundaries of what we think of today in the minds of the people at that time. For both of them are of the seed of Shem, the son of Noah, the seed of Abraham, the seed of David, the children of Solomon. For God gave the seed of Shem glory because of the blessing of their father Noah. The emperor of Rome is the son of Solomon, and the emperor of Ethiopia is the firstborn and eldest son of Solomon. Now, part 21, concerning the queen of the south. And how this queen was born, I have discovered written in that manuscript, and in this manner also doth the evangelist mention that woman. And our Lord Jesus Christ, in condemning the Jewish people, the crucifiers who lived at that time, spake, saying, the queen of the south shall rise up on the day of judgment, and shall dispute with and condemn and overcome this generation, who would not hearken unto the preaching of my word. For she came from the ends of the earth to hear the wisdom of Solomon. And the queen of the south, of whom he spake, was the queen of Ethiopia. And in the words, ends of the earth, he maketh allusion to the delicacy of the constitution of women, and the long distance of the journey, and the burning heat of the sun, and the hunger on the way, and the thirst for water. And this queen of the south was very beautiful in face, and her stature was superb, and her understanding and intelligence which God had given her were of such high character that she went to Jerusalem to hear the wisdom of Solomon. Now this was done by the command of God, and it was his good pleasure. And moreover, she was exceedingly rich, for God had given her glory and riches and gold and silver and splendid apparel and camels and slaves and trading men or merchants. And they carried on her business and trafficked for her by sea and by land, and in India and in Aswan, or the same. Concerning Tamrin, the merchant, part 22. And there was a certain wise man, the leader of a merchant's caravan, whose name was Tamrin, and he used to load 520 camels, and he possessed about 73 ships. Now at that time, King Solomon wished to build the house of God, and he sent out messages among all the merchants in the east and in the west, and in the north and in the south, bidding the merchants come and take gold and silver from him, so that he might take from them whatsoever was necessary for the work. And certain men reported to him concerning this rich Ethiopian merchant. And Solomon sent to him a message and told him to bring whatsoever he wished from the country of Arabia, red, gold, and black wood that could not be eaten by worms, and sapphires. And that merchant, whose name was Tamrin, the merchant of the king of Ethiopia, went to Solomon the king. And Solomon took whatsoever he desired from him, and he gave to the merchant whatsoever he wished for in great abundance. Now that merchant was a man of great understanding, and he saw and comprehended the wisdom of Solomon, and he marveled thereat, and he watched carefully, so that he might learn how the king made answer by his word, and understand his judgment, and the readiness of his mouth, and the discreetness of his speech, and the manner of his life, and his sitting down, and his rising up, and his occupations and his love and his administration and his table and his law to those to whom Solomon had to give orders. He spake with humility and graciousness, and when they had committed a fault, he admonished them gently. For he ordered his house in the wisdom and fear of God, and he smiled graciously on the fools and set them on the right road. And he dealt gently with the maid servants. He opened his mouth in parables, and his words were sweeter than the purest honey. His whole behavior was admirable, and his whole aspect pleasant. For wisdom is beloved by men of understanding, and is rejected by fools. And when that merchant had seen all these things, he was astonished, and he marveled exceedingly. For those who were wont to see Solomon held him in complete affection, and he became their teacher. And because of his wisdom and excellence, those who had once come to him did not wish to leave him and go away from him. And the sweetness of his words was like water to the man who is athirst, and like bread to the hungry man, and like healing to the sick man, and like apparel to the naked man. And he was like a father to the orphans, and he judged with righteousness, and accepted the person of no man. In other words, he was impartial. He had glory and riches, which God had given unto him in great abundance, namely gold and silver, and precious stones, and rich apparel, and cattle, and sheep, and goats innumerable. Now in the days of Solomon, the king, gold was as common as bronze, and silver as lead, and bronze and lead and iron were as abundant as the grass of the fields and the reeds of the desert, and cedar wood was also abundant. And God had given unto him glory and riches and wisdom and grace in such abundance that there was none like unto him among his predecessors, and among those who came after him there was none like unto him. Now let me see. Can I read? I'm going to read a little bit further. I'm going to come to a good place to break. Part 23. How the merchant returned to Ethiopia. And it came to pass that the merchant Tamrin wished to return to his own country. And he went to Solomon and bowed low before him and embraced him and said unto him, Peace be to thy majesty. Send me away and let me depart to my country, to my lady, for I have tarried long in beholding thy glory and thy wisdom and the abundance of dainty meats, wherewith thou hast regaled me. And now I would depart to my lady. Would that I could abide with thee, even as one of the very least of thy servants, for blessed are they who hear thy voice and perform thy commands. Would that I could abide here and never leave thee, but thou must send me away to my lady, because of what hath been committed to my charge, so that I may give unto her her property. And as for myself, I am her servant. And Solomon went into his house and gave unto him whatever valuable thing he desired for the country of Ethiopia. And he sent him away in peace. And Tamrin bade him farewell, and went forth, and journeyed along his road, and came to his lady, and delivered over to her all the possessions which he had brought. And he related unto her how he had arrived in the country of Judah and Jerusalem, and how he had gone into the presence of Solomon the king, and all that he had heard and seen. And he told her how Solomon administrated just judgment, and how he spake with authority, and how he decided rightly in all the matters which he inquired into, and how he returned soft and gracious answers, and how there was nothing false about him, and how he appointed inspectors over the 700 woodmen who hauled the timber, and the 800 masons who hewed the stone, and how he sought to learn from all the merchants and dealers concerning the cunning craft and working thereof, and how he received information and imparted it twofold, and how all his handicraft and his works were performed with wisdom. And each morning Tamrin related to the queen about all the wisdom of Solomon, how he administered judgment and did what was just, and how he ordered his table, and how he had made feast, and how he taught wisdom, and how he directed his servants and all his affairs on a wise system, and how they went on their errands at his command, and how no man defrauded another, and how no man purloined the property of his neighbor, and how there was neither a thief nor a robber in his days. For in his wisdom he knew those who had done wrong, and he chastised them and made them afraid, and they did not repeat their evil deeds, but they lived in a state of peace, which had mingled therein the fear of the king. All these things did Tamrin relate unto the queen, and each morning he recalled the things that he had seen with the king, and described them unto her. And the queen was struck dumb with wonder at the things that she heard from the merchant, her servant. And she thought in her heart that she would go to him. And she wept by reason of the greatness of her pleasure in those things that Tamrin had told her. And she was exceedingly anxious to go to him. But when she pondered upon the long journey, she thought that it was too far and too difficult to undertake. And time after time, she asked Tamrin questions about Solomon. And time after time, Tamrin told her about him. And she became very wishful and most desirous to go, that she might hear his wisdom and see his face and embrace him and petition his royalty. And her heart inclined to go to him, for God had made her heart inclined to go and made her to desire it. And there we have the essence, the answer to our question. Why did the Queen of Sheba go to visit Solomon in the first place? And so we see now it was dependent on these Ethiopian merchants. Ethiopian merchants have been known far and wide for eons, to have traveled extensively throughout the world, including into India, up into Europe, across the continent of Africa. You could find Ethiopian merchants everywhere. And as a matter of fact, if you turn around 3 times and tap your foot, you might find out you're in an Ethiopian store in your very own neighborhood, because this tradition continues to this day. So you see, we've always been very business minded. Meanwhile, we're going to end our readings right here today, and we'll pick up from there tomorrow, which will be Thursday. So we got a couple more days this week to read more about the Queen of Sheba and Solomon. So we'll at least get to read the story as related to us through by E.A. Wallace Budge, from his translation of, or a translation that he used of, the Kebra Nagast. So this is the original story that you will not find in the Bible. You won't find this whole story in the Bible. This is one of the things that was left out of the Bible. So when people talk to you about books that were left out, things that were left out of the Bible, this is some of the information that was not put into the Bible. And maybe for good reason. Maybe it just needed to be edited. You know, you have to decide what you're going to keep in and what you're going to take out. Editorial decision. What they call artistic license, so to speak. But we wanted to relate to you, give you a broader picture of the story, that the story of Sheba and Solomon is not a love story. That's merely a very small portion of what was going on there. There's some other things happening there. So we'll pick up there tomorrow. In the meanwhile, don't forget to check us out. This is Doc Ock at noon and 9 signing off. Don't forget to check us out at 9 o'clock. We'll be back with more about Abraham Hannibal. Abraham Hannibal. Did I bring the book down? I didn't bring the book down tonight. We'll be reading some more from the book Raiders of the Sands. Abraham Hannibal and the Raiders of the Sands. And we'll be learning more about him. And of course, we'll be learning more about the culture and life in Ethiopia. In the meanwhile, what we need you all to do, number one, give us a like if you're watching on Facebook. Number two, give us a thumbs up if you're watching on YouTube. And last but not least, go ahead and hit that donate button. If you haven't donated yet, you can go straight to our website, www.blakfacts.org, and you see it on the sign here right above me. There you go. Boom. I know it's backwards for some of you. Don't worry about it. Flip that thing around. You can do it in your mind. So you can go to our website, and you can, the donate button is in the top right corner. Or you can do it right there on Facebook. Below each one of our live streams, you'll find a link down there to make a donation. If you don't see it because you're on your mobile, go to your notifications and you'll find a notice over there. In the meanwhile, peace, at least with justice, because anything less than justice with peace disgusts us. We love being discussed. We don't like being disgusted. Peace out until tonight. We'll see you then, because we're about to take flight.